Hello, it is I, the real Daniel, and welcome to my world workshop, where we will go over the different mythologies and folk tales of all the different creatures I plan on adding into Erithus, and then we'll go over my version and how my take is gonna be. Don't forget to subscribe and click that like button. From maggots to short hairy men, what do you know of the proud race of dwarves?
We dwarves are natural sprinters! Very dangerous over short distances!
Thank you, Gimli. I've always loved dwarves. Just something about them. If given the opportunity, I will make a dwarf. Even if I don't make a dwarf, I will probably restart a game and make a dwarf. I need dwarves in my world, but that begs the question, what are dwarves? Should they just be regular miners like in Snow White? Should they be awesome miners and craftsmen like in World of Warcraft or Lord of the Rings? Should they be completely different like in Monster Garden's take on them? So, with that, let's jump into this rabbit hole together. Before we go any further, we need to go back in time, back to the year 1937. Tolkien has just released The Hobbit, and dwarves as we know them began. But during the same year, Disney released Snow White and the Seven Dwarves, with a very different type of dwarf. So we need to go further back, to ancient Norse mythology. The primordial giant Ymir has been slain. His blood pooled and flowed, forming the oceans, lakes, and rivers. His skull became the heavens, his bones the mountains. His flesh is now the earth and soil. Then maggots burrowed through the earth, and then the gods decided, yes, these maggots should be short, hairy men. This is the earliest recording of dwarves we have from the Norse. So stay with me. As we go from maggot to dwarf, they then appear in a few stories about dealing with Norse gods, usually ending with gods being jerks. During this time period, there is very little mention of beards or heights. Even the art from this time depicts dwarves to be about the size of humans. They aren't any stronger than humans. In fact, the gods look down on them for being weak. The only truly defining feature that they are given is that they are pale. The biggest thing that stuck with dwarves from the Norse mythologies was the fact that they are magically gifted at their craftsmanship. I think that's all we're getting from this time period. Nothing else seemed all that good to keep. So, moving on. The Norse, being the Norse at the time, spread throughout Europe, and so did their stories. Scandinavia is our next stop on the road of dwarves. Christianity was starting to take hold of the area, and so a lot of mystical creatures were retold through this lens. Things like dwarves and elves were explained to be descendants of Adam and Eve, but they were the ones that Eve forgot to bathe. So God made them invisible as punishment, which really just seems like a jerk move to the babies, not Eve. But that is why we can't see them. And I like this weird logic that the Scandinavia people had to have of explaining why we couldn't see them, whereas the Norse were just like, yeah, we just can't see them. That's just what it is. So, now we have unbathed baby dwarves, who started getting mixed with other fey creatures. Both trolls and dwarves became shorter than humans, lived in the earth, forged wonders, and turned to stone in the sun. In the prose Edda Snorri Sturluson, we now learn that dwarves are ugly and elves are hot. For some reason, every dwarf in the tale is wrinkled and malformed, and now we have beards. Glorious beards. As the Norse continue their quest up the Dwarven Trail to trade, pillage, colonize, their stories continue to get mixed in with the stories of the regions. They continued the slow blend of dwarves and other fays. Now there's a dwarf king in the Fey world where time operates differently. A reoccurring role is a pretty lady in white with an ugly, misformed dwarven servant. Even C.S. Lewis, Tolkien's contemporary at the time, used this trope with Lion the Witch and the Wardrobe. He doesn't belong there, he belongs in Willy Wonka's chocolate factory. As we move into Central Europe, we'll start seeing more recognizable dwarves. Many of the stories from this area are variants of the old Norse stories. So we get the hero Siegfried instead of Sigurd. Then we get stories that have dwarves guiding heroes through a fantastical version of the Alps, where they see dragons and giants. The hero, Theodoric the Great, gets into a conflict with the dwarf king Loren. And even King Loren was one of the few dwarves by this point who was physically strong thanks to a belt of strength. In the old Norse stories, we would get mentions of the dwarven underworld, but never any descriptions. The medieval storytellers would tell the tales of the Alps underworld, where the caverns are lit by jewels. Dwarves in these realms would feast and drink, proper dwarf stuff. Then finally came the Grimm brothers, with Snow White and the Seven Dwarves, which is much more recognizable to most people thanks to Disney and their movies. Complete tangent here, but I read the original Brothers Grimm Snow White for this video, hoping to find something about dwarves I could talk about. There is this weird thing I noticed that seemed off about these guys. So if they're going to the mines all day, every day, to mine gold and jewels, why are they sharing a studio cottage in the middle of the woods? I mean, how much gold and jewels are they finding? What are they doing once they find it? Or is this like a fishing situation, where they mine for sport? They just throw all the gold and jewels back at the end of the day? Tangent over. Okay. Let's go over what we have dwarf-wise now. So it's pretty clear that the most modern dwarves are built off of Tolkien's back, much like the rest of the fantasy genre. But really going back into the folk tales and the mythology, there really wasn't much about dwarves that Tolkien didn't use. A lot of the other legends about dwarves could easily be chalked up to any kind of mischievous trickster fae people. So yes, this may be generic. It's also not too separated from the Old Norse roots, whereas the Seven Dwarves is just fun, friendly fairy people. The only thing about these guys that is dwarf related is their mysterious job at the mines. What does this mean for my dwarves? I'm thinking they still need to be mountain related. They need to be able to navigate a rocky terrain. They mine, yes, but I wouldn't classify them as miners. No, we are going with the idea that they are proud craftsmen. Since it's rocky terrain, I'm going to turn my dervs into goat people. Since it's rocky terrain, I'm going to turn my dwarves into goat people. So I think it's kind of satyr-like. And there we go, Erithis dwarves. Now all I gotta give them is some action poses. We need to see how they are climbing. So this one is named Carl. David over here is fighting a really cool dragon off screen that you would love to see. And then we have Montgomery, who needs to fix his device. What is his device? Don't worry about it. That's all for this week. Thanks as always for watching. Click like and subscribe, and please share to get us out there. Our first goal is to hit 500 subscribers. So here we go. Bah!
Where was the kaboom? There was supposed to be an earth-shattering kaboom! Oh! There it is.